Good afternoon, BPE student. Oh, sorry, I'll let you go, boys and girls. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome, BPE students, staff, and honored guests to our Veterans Day program here at BPE. On November 11th, each year, we recognize and honor those who have served to preserve America's freedom through their service in the armed forces. Veterans Day is a tribute to the courageous men and women who were willing to fight for the ideas of liberty. Please stand as we honor our nation in the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance, and we also ask that you just stay standing when we sing the Star Spangled Banner. thing I did forget to mention is if you could put your cell phones in airplane mode, then it won't give us the feedback that we heard a second ago. So if you all don't mind to do that for us, that would be wonderful. Thank you, BPE Chorus. On November 11th, each year, we recognize and honor all of those who have served to preserve America's freedom. Throughout our nation's history, we have called upon men and women to defend our country and our allies whenever and wherever our nation's interests have been threatened. In peacetime and in wartime, we have relied on the courage of these patriots to keep us safe and secure. Time and time again, our men and women in uniform have stepped forward to perform the duties of valor, skill, and honor. Thank you for joining us in this recognition today with our very special Veterans Park Elementary program. In order to honor those veterans who have served here in our audience today, we ask that veterans please stand to represent your branch of the armed forces in their representative song as the chorus sings the Armed Forces Song. Mark Nielsen. He is a BPE grandparent, so please join me in thanking him for sharing with us today and being a part of this program as we honor our veterans of the United States Armed Forces.
Isn't this wonderful? Isn't this a wonderful day? I think as a veteran, this all reminds you of why you went to service, isn't it? To have these children here today and singing the songs and making us really understand a little bit about what patriotism is about. I want to thank Ms. Dabney for the introduction, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Students, faculty, friends, staff, fellow veterans, fellow Marines, Semper Fi, it's an honor to be here, and I'm really humbled by maybe having the trying at least to say a few things that maybe some of you might say as well. So, but I do want to tell you a little bit about. I think I love this is a great place, and we actually go back to their biblical school. Our youngest son was in the first third grade class that was here, probably about in 97, 21 years ago, when it first opened. Our daughter, Ms. Alt, is the librarian media specialist here at the school, and she said all our two grandchildren, Haley Alt and Brody Alt, are students here. So now you know why I was asked to do this, because I got the connections, right? So, but I also remember we lived nearby here maybe 30 years ago or so, 25, 30 years ago, when the park was first established here at this end time. And it was the first time in a while, I think, as a veteran, I felt really appreciated when the city decided to go ahead and name the park Veterans Park. And our honor and your honor, and to remember the veterans. And when they built the school here and named the school Veterans Park Elementary, I thought, wow, this is really special. And I appreciate that. And I think on your behalf, fellow veterans, I say thank you for the recognition. I do want to remind everybody today, this is actually kind of a special Veterans Day. It was 100 years ago. This is the centennial of the end of World War I on Sunday, November 11th. So it was 100 years ago, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of the year, that a peace treaty or peace agreement was agreed to. We call it the armistice between all the countries that were the warring parties at that time. Soon after, President Woodrow Wilson called that day in memory of all of our soldiers who fought in that war. He called it Armistice Day and made it a holiday throughout the country. Well, it wasn't too many years later that it was renamed Veterans Day. And we've had celebrated Veterans Day ever since that day 100 years ago. And it is to honor not only veterans, but to honor all of active duty personnel as well during this period of time. I do have to say, we have some active duty personnel here. There's a soon-to-be retiree. Thank you for your service. We also have our oldest veteran, a World War II veteran, and he's 96 years old. Thank you for your service. Well, I want to talk a little bit. You always hear about sacrifice. You always hear about maybe what it was we did to become veterans. And I know some of us here today, and many that we know, suffered wounds, both visible and invisible, that they carried with themselves throughout the rest of their lives as a result of their service. And we honor them and thank them for their sacrifice. But I'd like to explain to a little bit, and mainly to the children, I guess, a little bit more about what sort of sacrifices that we gave up to become in the military and to serve. And one of the things I'd like to think about a little bit was that when we talk about a sacrifice, we also remember something that happened on the very first day that you became a veteran. If everybody remembers it, we said a pledge or an oath, much as we did the Pledge of Allegiance today. But that pledge or an oath or a promise that we made was a little bit different. It said mainly three things. One, that we would defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That is what we said. We committed to that. That was our promise. So we would give up our time, and if necessary, our bodies and our blood to serve that cause and to defend that country. The second thing that was said, we said in that oath, was that we will obey the President of the United States and all those that are appointed over us. The third thing that we said was that we will abide by the laws, we call it the Uniform Code of Military Justice, that we will abide by the laws of the military, which are different from the civilians. So in doing that, in making that pledge, we gave up a lot. We sacrificed things. We sacrificed freedoms. Strangely enough, we sacrificed our freedoms to protect all the freedoms of those, the rest of the people in the country. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of what the commitment it is that you make to do that. I also like to talk a little bit about maybe some other things that maybe happened that might be considered a sacrifice. Many of you active duty personnel have spent a lot of time away from your family. A lot of us, when we serve, we spend a lot of times away from home from our family. That is a sacrifice. Personally, I served in the Marines for 4 years, from 1967 to 1971. I was home 2 times in those 4 years. And I was not home at all for the last 2.5 years I was in the Marines. And so you sacrifice the special relationships and the special family time and friends that you have. So you kind of have to say goodbye to your friends, and then you go off, do your duty, and then you can come home to be with your friends again. But I think now, in the time we live in now, our current military sacrifice, I think, even a little bit more in that family, because many of them are career. We have many more career soldiers, sailors and Marines and airmen, than we did temporary ones like myself who served for a few years. And many of them are married, have children. They serve and serve repeatedly overseas and are away from their families for long periods of time. That, to me, is a very real sacrifice. And we have to thank them for what it is that they're doing. I was trying to figure out what we needed to try to say today, so I asked my granddaughter Haley a little bit about it. I said, Haley, what should I talk about today? They said, well, talk a little bit about what you did, what you wore, what you ate, what you might have done and seen. Well, I'm not going to go into all that, but I'm going to maybe mention a couple of things that I'm sure is very similar to what a lot of you appreciate as well. So, one of the things, my 2 jobs, I actually had 2 jobs when I was in the Marines, one first and one later. I was a radioman in Vietnam when I was there. For Army guys, I was an RTO, you know what that is. For the last 2 years, I had a different duty. I got to dress up really nice like our soldiers sitting there. I got to dress up in the Marine Corps dress uniform and serve as a guard at American embassies in Cyprus and in Athens, Greece. So I'll give you a little bit of a very different kind of jobs. All of you here, all the veterans here, you all have your own stories. And I would encourage you to talk to your grandchildren, your children, so they learn a little bit more about what it is that you did during those times of service and what your sacrifice was. One of the other things I also like to say is you gave up a lot of creature comforts. I know for a while I was in a place where we didn't even have bathrooms. We lived outside. We had no TVs, no telephones, no bed, and you gave up a lot of the creature comforts. You sacrificed these during that time of your service. Air Force and Navy guys, I don't know how you could stay in this confined space that you had to live in, but I know that was a sacrifice at all. But I think, coming down to it, and why did we do this? Well, obviously we're all patriots. We all wanted to serve. But I also think that many of us wanted to simply be a part of something bigger, part of something important, something that was bigger than ourselves. Plus, some of us were a little adventurous. We wanted to experience something a little bit different. But I do want you to know that all of the veterans that come from all parts of the country, I even knew some veterans that are veterans now, but some servicemen that weren't Americans. We have people from around the world coming to serve in our military because they love what this country stands for and the ideals that we create, that we tell other people around the world. So it is important. When all these people came into the military, they either brought with them or they developed over time. A lot of characteristics, and these traits include courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty, and integrity to safety, just among those things. The best thing about serving in the military is you learn, you develop those traits, and when you left, you brought them home to your community and to your homes. And you teach others around you, and you nurture those same kind of feelings throughout that. And I would encourage you to continue to do that. I would like to end the day with something very simple, something many of you have probably heard before. I heard it the first time, or heard it for the first time when I was 10 or 11 years old. And this is a quote. This is a quote from our President John F. Kennedy during his inauguration in 1961. And he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." Thank you.
to thank you all for joining us today to pay tribute to our country's veterans and being a part of the Veterans Park Elementary Veterans Day program. As we sing our final song, we ask that you stand and wave your flag with those who have served here at Veterans Park. And we will be singing your grand old flag. And boys and girls, if you are in the chorus, you are going to stay seated.